A little bit later in the day on Saturday, top
Yeah.
15 matchup. Houston, 7th in the AP top 25. By the way, Michigan, 8th. And then,
Mm,
so the Cougars are at Kansas, number 12 in the AP top 25 poll. Both defenses rank top 5 in KenPom's adjusted defensive efficiency. Cougars are number 1, and they're actually above Duke, above Auburn for me, despite losing to Auburn earlier in the season, along with a couple other non-conference losses, including to Alabama. Houston is number 1 in my college basketball power ratings. They split the
wow.
regular season series last year, each team winning at home. The spot favors Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse just by the notion that Jayhawks are at home, one of the best home court advantages in the country. Does shot quality feel the same way?
Yeah, a little. This is largely a pass, likely going to be slight lean. Kansas, maybe expecting them to be favored by a point and a half, two. Maybe you get the home favorite up to 3. But yeah, look, this is the type of team that could cut through Houston. Good at attacking the rim, good passing, good in transition, good shooting, good rebounding. Not going to give them extra chances. And if Houston continues to not really emphasize the rim and 3 rate, which they are really an outlier in top teams of, they take a lot of mid-range shots for a good team. They are good at shooting, but they don't really. It's because they get great looks and they only shoot great looks. Their shot selection ranks really badly for shot quality. They don't get to the free throw line. They don't get to the free throw line enough right now. But again, they are nasty in terms of turnovers. They only turn the ball over 14% of the time. They turn you over almost a quarter of the possessions. Big ol' ignore for me. This is going to be the game to watch, and probably whichever team kind of is winning the matchup and looks to start get ahead, maybe just go the other way, expect it to tighten up and be one that kind of bobs and weaves and gets back to even, a couple lead changes, maybe even with both teams taking 6 to 9 point leads. And you could probably hold plus 5.5 on both sides, and 4-point game, someone's going to win. So that's how I'd play it. Nothing pregame. You're not going to beat. I don't think you're beating the odds on this one because I don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah, Kansas's defense has really improved too, despite the fact that they're going up against a really good 3-point shooting team. Houston, number 1 in Big 12 play.
Good transition defense too. So they're gonna do a good job. They don't get to the free throw line a lot either, but you don't get to the free throw line. They're pretty good with the ball on offense, so we'll see. That turnover battle, how secure they can be, that's probably the biggest X factor.
I think you brought up a really good point on the last show we did when you talked about good teams, or the teams you want to back, are the ones that kind of have ebb and flow in regards to outperforming and underperforming the market's expectations. Kansas, so I'm kind of a little bit teeter-tottering on this game because Kansas has underperformed the market's expectations. Well, despite covering against TCU on the road, that game was back and forth. TCU was up, I believe, for a little bit of a chunk in the second half. They didn't cover against Kansas State. They got blitzed at Iowa State, especially in the second half. And that 3-game stretch on the heels of covering and winning 3 straight against UCF, Arizona State, and Cincinnati. So maybe a decent buy point to your point on the last show on the Jayhawks. But you look at 3-point defense, they're allowing a 25.8% clip from behind the arc in league play. If I'm going to take one side, regression on either side, I'll use the D word. Which team is due for regression from behind the arc? Houston offensively or Kansas defensively? It's Kansas. Houston has the 3-point shooters to make the number 1 3-point shooting efficiency in league play stick.
I agree. I fully agree with you. I mean, teams are shooting 25% against Kansas in conference play right now. Expected to be 34. It's not all going to happen at once, but again, it's that efficiency in conference play right now is definitely a little tainted by that because you're getting 30% of field goals attempted against them are threes in conference play. So if you're missing 10% of points on 30% of attempts, like that's a good 3% of your scoring every single time that is not coming home. So consider a 75, 80, let's say an 80-point game because that's what these teams are playing in this conference. I mean, Yeah, that's a good 3.5 points. That's a full playable edge that they are essentially missing. That you're fooling the Ken Palms, the Torviks a little bit into, and they do understand because they look at the attempt rates as well as the make rates. But still, at the end of the day, when you take account into the scoring, which goes into a lot of power ratings, Kansas should be allowing more points. So yeah, a little bit of a sell spot on the Kansas defense. Would not be shocked to see Houston get what they want, maybe an over in that respect. Kansas at home, scoring a little bit easier, defense regression, see both sides of the ball, get the, swish it home.
One other thing to note here for Houston, injury-wise, Emmanuel Sharp did not play against Utah. I would assume more so precaution just with Kansas on deck. They blew out Utah, only allowed 36 points, one of the best defensive performances in college basketball, I think, in over a decade.
Crazy. Yeah.
Right. So injury to consider here. And I would actually look at Sharp over points if he does play going up against this Kansas defense at Allen Fieldhouse, just because Justin and I don't have a pregame bet on this one. I'm going to throw out Sharp over points, maybe a small bet there. I don't bet a ton of player props, but if you want a little sprinkle, I don't hate it. On to the Big East. We tipped off the podcast, Justin, with Xavier and St. John's recap, and the bad beat that you had. I had 8.5, just saying. Not gonna.
Yeah, that's a good number. I keep playing morning of instead of overnight, and you want to. It's definitely.
But you're waking up. To be fair, to give the listeners and viewers a little context, because they're going to be like, "Oh, what, Justin? Why aren't you getting the best of the number?" You tend to fall asleep around 10, 11 o'clock, and I don't blame you.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a tough existence. So you're sitting here live betting all day, handicapping all day, and then it hits you in the face, and you go to bed a little too early. Look, you can't get the best of every single world. I could push it back, but then the problem is that I'm going to be up too late. So and limits also are a little bit not as forgiving overnight. So I prefer to play in the morning of, so no one really comes clamoring at me that I'm playing stuff they can't get enough down on, and I like to think that keeps things a little bit more respectable. But
for sure, I didn't mean that as a negative.
Oh no, I know. And I think it works fine. It's gone very well this season. I'm very happy with the results. I definitely kick myself sometimes, but oftentimes I can't get every number anyway. So it's fine. It's good. It's part of the process. And I think there's plenty of ways to get those outs, and hopefully people can get some good stuff down and cash some picks. But yeah, I do think at least here for Kansas, maybe a against the grain, there you go, type of spot. Taking Houston at rub.